Testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Y'all hear me all right? Folks, I'm going to kick this off in about 60 seconds. So if you'll find a place to sit and get comfortable, appreciate it. Is the Zoom volume okay? All right. All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and gavel in. If you'll find your seat. Are we live on Zoom, Jason? Okay. Everyone, welcome. Welcome to the October General Meeting of the Tampa Heights Civic Association, October 23, 2024. My name is Rick Fernandez. I'm the president of the association and welcome you to our community parlor. It's nice to see you here. When last we met, I think we were one day before Helene, and I'm not sure anybody had even heard of Milton yet. So we've been through a lot in the last 30 days. I'm glad to see everybody here. I know we have a relatively small attendance here tonight, and I suspect it's because some folks are still trying to clean up and basically just try to get their heads together again. So I understand. We are streaming on Zoom. This meeting will be recorded and will be available for anybody who is listening. You'll be able to come back to it if you can't sit for the whole meeting. Anybody that's here, obviously, you can come back to catch any particular items that you found particularly interesting. We will publish the link, so anyone who's not here today, virtually or in person, will have an opportunity to access it. So this information will find a space out in the world. We do have, as our keynote here tonight, Lynn Hurtak. She is the District 3 City Council representative, District 3 being citywide. So she is one of the 3 citywide city council members and is also a resident of Seminole Heights. So not only is she a politico, and a good one, I might add, she is a neighbor. And very glad we have her here today. We'll move into that aspect of the meeting just a little later in about 10 minutes. First of all, I have a couple of announcements. This is a carryover of comments I've made at 2 other meetings having to do with the Transportation Planning Organization and upcoming meetings, actually one principal meeting now coming up on October the 30th regarding the long-range transportation plan. That meeting is scheduled for October 30 at 6 p.m. down at the county center, 2nd floor in the main chamber. If you will recall, the principal issue that we're concerned about regarding this long-range transportation plan, which covers a period from 2024 to 2050. Think about that for a minute. I'm kind of an old fart now. I'll be 95 years old and probably not even around anymore at the terminal point of this particular plan. So we're looking far out into the future. But buried in that plan is a program or a plan to add 2 additional lanes, one north and one south, to Interstate 275 north of Hillsborough to Beers. The projected time of expenditure, the period during which FDOT anticipates that this particular program would be executed, is somewhere between 2035 and 2050. So 11 years out at the earliest to start, out to 2050 as the terminal point for in terms of timeline. The projected cost for that project going into time of expenditure dollars is somewhere north of $400 million for 2 lanes, 15 to 20 years from now. All right. Now, we have been opposing lane expansions, interstate capacity expansions since 2015, and probably before that. But 2015 is when Tampa Bay Express first rolled out. The Tampa Heights Civic Association has been on record opposing all of these expansions for all of those 9 years. Lena and I have been involved in many of those meetings, and we've been, we probably have imprints at podiums up at the county center at this point, as have many of you. This is a continuation of that same argument, that same discussion. No matter what we do, no matter what battles we seem to win, FDOT always comes back a year, 2, 3, 5 years later with some similar version of the plan that we thought we put in the rearview mirror. This is one of them. So what can you do about it? There are many of us that are going to show up at the meeting on October 30 and do the best we can from the podium in public comment. Unfortunately, time is limited for that particular window of presentation. The chairman of the TPO, Gwen Myers, has a tendency, whether she'll do it or not this month, I don't know, but has a tendency to limit public comment to 30 minutes total. So if you think about it for just a moment, the maximum per speaker is 3 minutes. That would mean 10 people would be able to speak, assuming they took up all that time. We're making plans now to have particularly impactful speakers speak for fewer than 3 minutes so we can get more folks to the mic. The principal message is an easy one to deliver, and what I'm asking each of you to do, and please pass the word along to your neighbors down the street, anybody you think that might care about the air quality, the water quality, the noise that we have coming through this neighborhood, ask them to send an email to the Transportation Planning Organization. I'm going to give you the email address. In fact, I've got, as it turns out, I've got 10 printouts here that unfortunately is maybe enough to cover most of the members, but grab one, take a picture of it, take it with you on your phone and pass it on. Faith, could I trouble you please? Or Matt, okay. Just pass those out if you would. All you have to do is send an email that says something along the lines of, Hillsborough TPO, say no to a wider I-275 north of Hillsborough to south of Beers. Okay. Strike this project from the LRTP. That's it. I haven't counted the words, but it doesn't sound like it's more than a couple of sentences, maybe 20 words total. You send that, as you will see on the handout that Matt just sent out, you send it to TPO at plancom, that's PLANCOM.org. Send those words to that email address and consider yourself to have done service for your community. If you want to do more, you can show up at the meeting. You can make a phone call and leave a voicemail message. You can do any number of things. You can pick up the phone and call members of the TPO board and lobby them yourself if you think you have that kind of relationship. There are Facebook comments, and the Facebook link is also on the printout that I gave you. They do. They read the Facebook comments out loud. They summarize the email addresses or the emails, and they, at least recently, the person who has been the reporter from staff has actually been naming the names of the people from whom they've gotten emails. So if all this person does is stand at the podium and say, we received 50 emails, all of which in summary said, stop the widening of I-275, and these are the people who sent those messages, that alone, in my mind, would be a victory. They need to know on the TPO board that this is not a favored project. If they haven't figured it out by now, they're brain dead, frankly, but there's some new people on the TPO board who are new to this particular project. And frankly, I don't think they're very well read in yet. So maybe they just need to understand, at least politically, those that are elected understand the kind of pushback that they might get from the community if they vote the wrong way to support this. So anyway, that's the ask. Get an email out, get it out as soon as possible. The meeting is October 30th. They won't take any additional comment after the 29th, but don't wait for that. Do it now, get it out there soon. Send as many emails as you want. Send 30 emails for all I care and say slightly different things if you want, and ask your friends to do the same. All right. Let's stack their email inboxes as best we can. Lena, the meeting is at 6 p.m. on October the 30th. Again, second floor, main chamber. Lynn? It's a good idea. All right. Well, that's a good idea. Anybody that needs transportation assistance, or you just would prefer not to have to go park downtown, which I fully understand, reach out to me and let me know. And we can arrange something right here for pickup, maybe around 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock. Oh, and if you want to speak in real time, you can sign up to do that now. All right. So you can get on the list as a speaker is already, the agenda is already out. Okay. So anyway, that's on your to-do list. I hope you'll follow up and help us out with that. Okay, this is, some of you may have noticed, if you've traveled the distance between Columbus and Florabraska, you may have noticed these odd little islands that popped up almost literally overnight a couple of weeks ago. There's some new ones. Yeah, now I understand that there's some new ones that came up. I just heard of those today. I don't know when they came up. But this is an FDOT project in conjunction with City of Tampa Mobility. And somehow they managed to fail to talk to us about what they were going to do before they did it, which I find interesting. Literally, there are people living right along the street that, from what I understand, woke up to the sound of construction on their streets at night when the first round of these was being put in. Yes, sir. Well, that's what I'm getting to. I had no idea, frankly. We were surmising, huh? Well, and we did get an email back from FDOT's PR person, Chris Carson. I had a brain freeze there for a moment, explaining what those islands are. They're called chicanes. Chicanes, like chicanery. It's ironic, but nonetheless, a chicane, okay? And what I'm just going to read this straight up. This is the Central Avenue Bikeway project we're talking about, is adding chicanes, small concrete islands at various locations along Central Avenue as part of a traffic calming initiative in partnership with the City of Tampa's Mobility Department. Markings will be added on both ends of each chicane, along with roadway striping. Speed cushions will be installed along Central Avenue between Palm Avenue and Columbus. In addition, speed tables will be constructed along. There's a distinction between a speed cushion. I don't know what that is. Maybe somebody here does. And a speed table. Oh yeah, well, will be constructed along Central Avenue between Sly and Broad Street. Over the coming months, this project runs from 7th Avenue all the way north beyond Broad Street. So it's beyond Seminole Heights, way north of us. Over the coming months, crews will be working on various construction activities along Central Avenue and continue moving their operations toward the north end of the project limits. That's Kirby Street. From there, crews switch projects and begin work on the Ola Avenue Bikeway project while working both projects simultaneously, proceeding from south to north. Again, that's from FDOT's public relations individual, Chris Carson. And thanks to Jim Hartnett, who established that contact and got that information for me today. Yes, sir? Yeah, save that for Lynn. I'm not aware of a correlation, but it'd be nice if there is. And these chicanes are being built now, and they will eventually be part of a restriping of the street so that there is curvature of the actual lane movements. That presumably is going to help to slow the traffic along Central in that very finite area. That's all we've got right now. you heard the other things they're planning on doing. Faith?
How they method, and it's in the start, how they can do that in terms of what the start with the diamond and whatever.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Along those lines, what we said, right? So I've been trying to build for over a year on City Avenue. And I've been through the historic preservation, I've been through the law, I've been through the formulation, and city council. And everyone has a vote. I can't remember the meeting, they have all they can do out of the backyard without approval at the time from the neighbor. So I think that it should change. So as long as they make the prayer, and they're not effectively consistent with the great paved road. So how to write it out if you not have a vote on it, it's that.
I don't have an answer for you other than it's FDOT. Things tend to happen without our being involved until after the fact. It's not to say that we don't have a voice. It's not to say we can't push back now that we know they're there. You know, fortunately, we didn't know they existed until they were literally there. Matt?
It's not very comfortable. So basically, you're not in the community that.
No. Other questions? I wish I had more answers for you, but literally, I pulled this off my printer about an hour ago. First impression for me of what it is that they're actually doing. We're going to be following up on this as a board. And obviously now we will be talking to city council as well. Okay, let me move on. That's all I have to say about that. I just want to make sure you all knew where that was as best I can. Some of you may not even be aware that there is a Central Avenue project, but now you are. All right, so good on you. Matt? They have not mentioned chicanes for Ola. Don't know. You would think there'd be some type of traffic calming device on Ola, since that is also a bike route, but I don't know. Okay, a couple of thank yous. Some of you made it to our social over at Hidden Springs. What was it, last week? Last Wednesday. Very, very nicely done. It was fun. And it didn't have a large attendance, but we did have a respectable attendance, and the beer was cold and it was very good. We were well hosted by the owner, Josh, and I wanted to personally thank Brian Seal, who took on the primary oar in getting that done. You know, he brought his little girls with him, brought his wife. It was a family activity, an affair. So it was nicely done. So hopefully we'll have more of those. It was, for me personally, it was a nice way to defuse a little bit in the wake of the hurricanes. For an hour and a half, I wasn't thinking about the fact that I had 2 large oak trees in my backyard that were making my life miserable. So it was pleasant to be able to interact. So again, Brian, if you're listening, thank you for pulling that together for us. Okay, that said, Lynn, I think you are up. Again, as I said, City Council, District 3, citywide. Lynn was appointed to the position in 2022 and then elected in a hotly contested race in 2023. Her term runs until 2027. She is a resident of Seminole Heights. I'm happy to be able to call her my friend and look forward to working with her long into the future. 2027 is just the start. Lynn, come on up.
Thank you.
Just beat the hell out of that one.
Yeah, thank you all. I appreciate you all having me today. I am from Old Seminole Heights, but I will tell you the very first thing I ever did before I even bought my house was go to a TBX meeting up in Seminole Heights. We hadn't even bought it yet. My husband was like, "Do we really have to go over the bridge?" I was like, "This is our new neighborhood. We need to learn about it." And so I actually was at that TPO meeting that went until like 2 in the morning, and that was, I would say it was fun times, but it wasn't. And so I will tell you, just going back to the TPO, I do sit on the TPO. And the issue, if you aren't familiar, the issue is the people that don't live in the city of Tampa or represent the citizens of Tampa on the TPO. So it's the non-elected. It's the folks who represent the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, that's THEA. It's the people that represent the port. It's the people that represent the airport. They don't care about the neighborhoods because they don't have to. That's not their job. So those folks, we have a couple of county commissioners who aren't as interested, and we have a school board member who's not as interested. We also have two mayors of Plant City and Temple Terrace. They don't like, they're not interested what goes on in our neighborhoods. They don't care that it's cutting through our city and our neighborhoods. So those are the folks that you're going to have to talk to. One of the things that Old Seminole Heights is doing is sending postcards to folks in Temple Terrace, trying to get their mayor to change his mind. So I thought that was kind of clever. I would highly, highly recommend any way, shape, or form that you can get involved with that. Again, emails is great. 100 emails is not enough for me. I want to see like 200 emails. Again, if all you do is copy and paste that and send it to your friends and say, hey, forward this. That's all we ask. Just as many people as possible. Those two sentences, just send it to all your friends. Doesn't matter. I mean, preferably they live in the city of Tampa, but honestly, just as many people as possible. Anything they post on Facebook, the Transportation Planning Organization of Hillsborough County, they read them out loud. So whatever you say, they'll read within reason. So that is one place I would start. October 30th. It was very successful. I keep saying we because it's still my neighborhood. The Old Seminole Heights Neighborhood Association did a carpool for a 10 o'clock meeting on Wednesday and with Tampa Heights, we packed the room. So hopefully we can do it again. This is an evening session, so it'll allow a lot more people to be there. Please, it really matters to show up and to show your voice. There is a new member who's representing Hart, Gary Hartfield. Wonderful. You're meeting with him on Monday. That's fabulous because that was a vote that was for the neighborhoods, and we would like to keep it for the neighborhoods. So I'm happy to hear that is happening. To go to Florabraska, I had a meeting with Vic Beatty this morning, and he talked to me about all of this. So the good news about the Florabraska is that our very next meeting, November 7th, we have an award for the construction of the project. So it will be beginning. He wasn't able to give me a date for construction, but I did actually bring the CIP. So if you want to see what's actually happening, I'll be happy to pass that around. Take a photo if you want. It's on the city website. It's hard to find. So I'll pass this around. And like I said, you're welcome to take a photo of it. And if you have any particular questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or others. We'll be happy to answer. But I believe that and specifically, if you have any questions, make sure I get them before November 7th, because I will ask them publicly, so you know what's going on. So we'll find out what's happening with that cycle track. I do know that it's going to be a protected bike lane. I think it's unfortunately in two directions, which I didn't care for, but there was something about interstate requirements where they won't let you do one because of how the interstate on-ramp and off-ramp are. So again, it's FDOT. It's always FDOT. The answer is always FDOT. Better for worse. So that's the Florabraska. Does anyone have a question about that before? That's a good question. That's why I would take a look at that. And if you have a question like, are there going to be chicanes on this? I don't believe there will be, because it's Florabraska and it's meant to be a thoroughfare. So I don't really think that the goal is to slow down traffic. Yes. It does not include 21st Street. It is just Florabraska. I believe it goes just to Nebraska. Yeah. Yes, and that is it. That's all that's being touched in this particular point. I'm going to go back then to the TPO 275 expansion. Did anyone have any questions about that I can answer?
Put in to require things prior to the meeting.
I wish. I have tried really, really hard. And first of all, I wanted a shout out to Hart because I don't know if you have ridden the free buses, but if you haven't and you've never ridden a bus, now is the time to try it. I actually ran into constituents on my way home from council the other day. I was at the bus station at Marion Transit, and they had gotten on the bus. They just wanted to see how to get to the airport from their house. They're like, it's free. We're gonna figure it out today. And I was really impressed. So they're using it for many things. And so I was so impressed by the stories I'd heard that I actually reached out to Justin Willits with Hart, and I said, it feels like there are more people on the bus. And sure enough, he said that there's an increase of 10%, and we still have the full week. So if you have not gotten on the bus, and just give it a try. That's all I ask. And you and a friend, just give it a try, because I will be honest with you, I am concerned about my $1.5 million set aside to make Route 1 fare free this year. I'm concerned because we have all these new concerns with stormwater and stuff like that. I am afraid that the $1.5 million is on the table. And so anything, I want to have some great, and it's already happening, the great statistics to back it up, to encourage that 1.5 million to stay. So I may ask Rick to send out an email if I think that there's going to be an issue, to also drum up some support for that, because I know this neighborhood supports public transit. So unfortunately, we cannot require it. But the reason I asked for that $1.5 million was because the bus rapid transit that we do want to happen, the state has put in a lot more tighter guardrails. One of the things we're not allowed now to repurpose a lane, so we can't do that. So so that makes it more difficult. They have upped the numbers that are required from day one. I believe it's now 4,000 riders. And now we've met that with this free routes everywhere. That has been met, but can we continue that? So what I'm hoping this free Route 1 does is build up that ridership so that we can show evidence that we can support a BRT. If you're not familiar, Route 1 takes you from basically Whiting Street, where the streetcar starts, all the way up to USF, the University Mall. And then they have like a shuttle that'll take you to USF. So it is, you can actually go from USF all the way to Ybor for free on public transit. And it's not going to be the fastest, but let me tell you, it'll be the least stressful experience you'll have riding the roads of Tampa. Today, I just thought to myself, why didn't I take the bus today? So tomorrow I'm taking the bus, because the stress, it's just not worth it. Okay, so that's the answer to that. Yes.
Within this week, then that could be a big boost.
Absolutely. Getting USF students to know about it is a huge boost. And that's actually, there's organization, Dana Lazarus is kind of taken over Sunshine Citizens. And one of the things that she's going to be working on is a plan to get folks to know about Route 1 fare free. And, I've heard from Hart that it's too late to pull that money back. So I'm hoping that that is the case, because they've already started to plan the routes and the numbers, and they're actually increasing the frequency to 15 minutes. So that'll also be very beneficial. But we plan to do that. We actually have a volunteer that's going to stop at every apartment building that's within a couple blocks and tell people, hey, did you know that Route 1 is going to be fare free? It's going to start in about January is the goal.
The current allocation of fare free is from when to when?
It's supposed to be a year, but Hart, they said it was going to take about a few months. So the goal is January, and hopefully we'll get it through December. It depends on how far the money goes.
So starting tomorrow, fare free?
Right now, it's fare free because of the hurricane.
And okay.
So that ends on Monday, the 28th. Monday? Yeah, that's the whole city. Yeah, it's not just Route 1. You can ride the whole city for free until Monday.
And then the fare free will start January 9th.
Hopefully, that's the goal. Obviously, when they have a number, we will be blasting it everywhere. So we will absolutely be sharing that and trying to encourage people to ride it and to try it. My challenge is going to be stuff like once a week, just give it a try. Give up your car, get on the bus. Or if you don't live close enough, park on the street near a bus stop. It's legal. I think just hop on the bus that way. So we're going to do some stuff to encourage people to give public transit a try. So that's the main goal there. And yes.
Question, I'm wondering, that Tampa, is there an urban strategic plan? Is there an FDOT transportation study? Is there a city of Tampa transportation study? Is there a neighborhood study that could be referred to for?
FDOT loves studies. There's a lot of studies, and Rick can probably connect you with quite a few of the studies that have been done, but no, mainly FDOT will do a study, but then does what it wants anyway. And that is, it is. There is a transportation plan. It's called the MOVES plan, MOVES, and it is on the city's website. If you email me, because you have my card, I can send it to you, but it's the MOVES plan. And it was put in a couple of years ago. I want to say it was right after I joined council. And it is definitely an aspirational plan when it comes to FDOT. But the goal is really, there's really no way out of this other than mass transit. It's either that or, that's it. There's no other choice. We can't widen our roads. Um, they're leaving room for rail, but rail is really, really, really expensive. So for that $400 million that they want to do to just add 2 lanes, we could probably get rail along that line, but we do not have a governor and state administration that is pro-rail. So rail won't be done until we have someone that's in Tallahassee, whether it be Senate, House, and governor's seat that supports transit. And that's just the bottom line. But the thing is, even if we do get a rail, when you get off the rail, you have to get home. And how do you get home? You hop a bus. So what I'm trying to do is create the routes so that when the trunk comes, the roots and the branches are already strong enough to sustain people. So that's how I'm trying to look at it, because right now I can't control the trunk, but I can kind of help to control the branches and the roots. So, okay. Next, we will go to Robles Park. Now, I want to thank both Lena and Rick for reaching out to me again and again once we knew about the problem. I really do appreciate that, because I can't be everywhere. And so I was able to talk to Vic. Unfortunately, it took a few days. He told me it was going to be earlier and it wasn't. And so I apologize, because I don't ever like to tell people that something's coming and then have it not come, but this is what he said, and I will. Oh, yes, absolutely. So what happened was the Robles Park overflowed. So the pond itself, the park became the pond, and then it expanded onto the brick streets, and then it expanded into people's homes. So it is the type of unprecedented flooding that folks who've lived here for 50 years and more said they have never seen before. And unfortunately, this is what we're hearing all over the city in many different neighborhoods. So it is unprecedented flooding. And one of the ways, I was at south of Gandy last night, and that's right by the Air Force Base, and right by Port Tampa City. Folks who got it from the surge as well as the stormwater after, and so they got it from Helene and then Milton. One of the things that how many of you stayed? How many of you who are here from Milton? So one of the things I noticed as a native Floridian, and some of you might have noticed this too, is you're used to hurricanes. Hurricanes come and there's a band. It's heavy rain and some stop. Heavy rain, and like you can feel the bands come through the city. There were no bands. It just rained. It never stopped. And it was the creepiest. The wind wasn't the eeriest thing for me personally in the storm. It was the continuous rain. It never even let up for a little bit. The dog was not happy. But it was just, yeah. Well, thankfully Jelly will go out in the rain, but it was still just it was so eerie. Like I cannot think of a time. So we had 18 inches in some areas, and then the 97-mile-an-hour winds did not help. But Robles Pond will have a generator. That is what Vic told me today. You will get a generator. The administration is working on a generator plan update to bring to City Council as soon as possible. Hopefully completed, like plan to done in 12 to 18 months, which sounds long, but in the world of, I mean, because we have to put an RFP out, it will be a design build. We don't need to design bid build because it's really just replacing or creating some generators. But you will have one, and I will tell you this, it is not expensive to get this done. And this is a citywide issue. It's not just for here. It's a citywide issue. It's not expensive. Expect it to be done. I'm not a bonder. I'll bond for this. I don't care. But I don't think we need to. It's not that much money. So, but that I'm being told. He also wanted me to reiterate that the development that is coming, the redevelopment of Robles Park, they have actually been working very closely to make sure that there is adequate stormwater drainage with the new construction. It will not be feeding into the pond. It will be feeding to the river in a different, it will connect, but further down. So it won't be it won't come into the pond and then go out, from my understanding.
Village, they got back. So the city was going up and putting them up for the streets. But they got and then a tree fell further down,
Yep.
so they couldn't get to do anything on that side. But that made a problem.
Well, they will have stormwater basin, like underground vaults is what they call it. But then they will be pumping it. Yeah, it will go to the river, but it will not be coming to the pond. Well, it's important. I mean, and so that's another thing that I will tell you that I'm going to focus on for the upcoming. We have been told that in the past, stormwater was a part of rezoning. It's no longer that way. And so I'm doing some research to find out how we can get it to be part of rezoning again. So that's very important.
Does that mean, by saying that, does that mean that there's a way for the citizens to get involved in part of the rezoning?
Yep. And basically right now people have come to us for ages saying, well, what are the effects of stormwater? And right now that's dealt with at permitting. And so we're not allowed to make decisions based on stormwater because it happens at permitting. And I have to do my due diligence and make sure that hasn't been taken over by the state or anything. Yes.
There was original Tampa Street, they're going to do construction there, they're going to put like 12-foot pipes that go through it. And then I think Rick or one of us went to a meeting and they said that is no longer on the table, they're taking out the stormwater component of that.
They are.
Is that still accurate?
Oh yeah. However, it is time to re-engage with FDOT on that. Thank you for the reminder, because it was on my mind, but just like all of you, I still have hurricane brain. So let me talk to FDOT about the Tampa, Florida, because the other thing I did though, when I talked to Justin Hall, is it Justin Hall or Jason? Justin Hall, knowing how important that is to this neighborhood, I told him that absolutely you need to re-engage with Vic, because while that street's torn up, we have to get stormwater in somehow, even if the city has to pay for it. And I think that I've just solidified that position. by what happened here and elsewhere. So that is 100% on the agenda for me. However, also, just so you know, there is a citywide watershed plan. It is it's a $5 million project that we already approved. This plan will be for the entire city. It will look at sea level rise and weather projections. It will then make recommendations for CIP projects, which are capital improvement projects. There are 6 different consultants that have already been selected. It's a 2-year process, but in 18 months, it will be 80% complete, and it will be firmed up in the following 6 months. Vic will then come forward to City Council with policy recommendations. It will be a massive investment that will be likely more than $250 million. City money. Yeah, and we'll bond for it, and we'll make, I mean, it's a priority. It has to be done. The good news is we've already spent about that much money on large stormwater projects, so this is not uncommon for us. The other good news is we are truly one of the only cities in Florida that has already undertaken this. Most cities, you just look at what happened in St. Pete. They have no stormwater. They are not working on their stormwater. They need to. So we are not only doing pipes and wastewater, we're also working on stormwater. And these are the types of infrastructure projects that other cities, stormwater especially, they have not been doing. So I have to say, I'm particularly happy that we all voted to tax ourselves for that.
Then going back, I know Columbus is a county road, right?
Yes.
And it's been tore up 2 years. Do you have any idea when they're actually that road? It is awful. I mean, it's just awful.
Honestly, I would ask your county commissioner. Yeah. I would reach out to Pat Kemp and find out, because that's a really good question. I do not disagree. And our goal as the city of Tampa and the county's goal is to have them pave it to the correct standards, and then for us to take it over, so we don't make sure that this doesn't happen in the future. That is the goal. I believe that's what happened with, is it Howard or Armenia that already got paved? Howard. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's getting there, but the goal is for us to then take it over. So that will be, but then one of the things we'll be able to do is add the bike lanes we want, the parking we want. That will be, so we'll be able to make it more of a complete street instead of a highway. Brian.
Well, to me, it's all about Columbus. The county has, to bring more complete streets, more stuff to move forward. That's the order it's in the heights. It's already been investment on the east side of East Carolina, whether it be in April. So all the county investment on Columbus is skipped over, planning to skip over the heights and 0 plan.
No, there is a plan. And so I asked about that today too. So here's the great thing. Rick crowdsourced questions, and I got an answer to almost all of them. So the answer to that is we actually just applied for a grant that will connect those two. That will work North Boulevard, that will expand the bridge for both pedestrians and cyclists. So that is a consideration. Columbus,
Columbus, west of the Boulevard is the Boulevard that happens.
Okay.
CIP.
Okay.
I don't know, it's fun to get this on the plan. And then the EMD board's already going to be done. And so skip over the trademarks. No plan to Columbus. But there actually goes for the North Boulevard.
Well, that is, but so hopefully if we get that grant, that will be the impetus for finishing that section of Columbus, because I cannot imagine that they aren't looking at both and wanting to finish the one in the middle. Now I know, but it is a step-by-step process, but I believe they went for a federal grant for this, and we've had luck with federal grants. So hopefully we will be able to do that. Apparently it was a grant that went in with Armature Works and others. Why they didn't tell Tampa Heights about it, I'm not sure. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. But UT, I think, was involved. And so why they wouldn't come to a neighborhood, I do not know. I was not involved in that. But we do keep an eye on grants. There is a city website that has all the grants that we've applied for and where we are in the process. I can see if I can find that. If you email me and say, hey, can you find the grants page? I will try to email it back to you. And for those who don't have my email, I have a couple of cards that I passed around, but I will happy to pass out more. But my email is simply my name, lynn.hurtak@tampagov.net. LYNN.HURTAK@tampagov.net. So if you don't have it, you can also ask Rick or Lena. I know they have it. Brian has it. Like it's everywhere. Yeah. So that is that portion. The islands, Rick answered FDOT, and oddly enough, it's Tampa apparently doesn't really have anything to do with it. We ceded it to them and they're doing it. So we don't really know what's going on, which is unfortunate. Apparently not. In FDOT's world, they just do. You just wake up and all of a sudden you have a highway through your yard. Um, I wish that was, but we Old Seminole Heights, we feel it just as much as you do. Not actually, not nearly as much because y'all have the interchange. But so the Robles Park, we will be getting a generator. We will, and like I said, I was talking to Lena about this ahead of time. We will have information in closer to January on that update, but we will actually, I do have a note here, the FDOT, with that we will talk to Vic to see if we can get FDOT to help fund more of that stormwater. The other concern I had, and many of you had mentioned, or some of you had mentioned, and you can't have lived here for long enough without thinking, did the expansion and the expansion that's going on right now impact the water level? And so I do believe that we have to require DOTs to look at not just the roads, but the watershed around them. And apparently Vic talked to Greg Slater, who's the head of THCA today, and he apparently was up with federal FDOT and said, hey, what can we tell them about what's going on in Tampa? And he said, look at the watershed and not just your street. So hopefully we'll get some type of, the Biden administration has overall been very good at hopping over the state and giving us money to do the projects that we want as a city, federal dollars. Not great, but better than the state. So hopefully we can get some federal money to start looking at some stormwater. Hopefully they'll do it nationwide. It's going to be ridiculously expensive to do that, but it's the right thing to do. I know that I think folks in Houston are also looking at that because they're having some serious water problems. Okay, I talked about the Riverwalk. Comp plan update. Folks wanted to know how Tampa Heights might be impacted and support for increased density in the future. Tampa Heights is lucky, and you have to thank Brian and everybody else who worked tirelessly on the overlay. The overlay basically protects you, but the overlay went harder. Y'all went harder than most neighborhoods wanted to go, and so congrats to you on that. The density is still going to be pushed along the corridors, the transportation corridors. You all have put your stamp of approval behind seriously high density projects, and kudos to you on that. My only thing personally that I would encourage is to advocate for less parking regulation. I mean, we're already doing that, but like less, even less. So when the Robles Park folks came to me before they put it into city council, one of the things I told them was more units, less parking. And so they were able to do that. So hopefully it won't be underparked. We'll see. I still believe that development will be underparked, but that's just Rather, I'm sorry, overparked. Overparked, yeah, overparked. I believe that that development will be overparked. But, you know, there's only so much you can do about that. But I did get them to lower it. But for comp plan, the one thing that I can encourage you to do is just support the comp plan that as it's coming forward. One of the things that we are putting in the comp plan, and that's coming back to us probably Marchish, is a sliding scale of density. So if you are someone who is building affordable housing and you're doing it on a transit corridor, you're going to be able to almost double your density. Right now, the only density bonuses that the city of Tampa allows is 10%. That's it. And that's just not worth it for a lot of developers. So knowing that you can get 100% density bonus by putting affordable housing in, and if you put in affordable housing that's actually affordable, 80% and below, you can get even more. So the max obviously is 100%, but you're going to be able to do that multiple ways. Transit corridors will be one way, offering affordable housing will be another. So you will be able to kind of mix and match to try to get the density. And that I know is what this neighborhood is looking for. Mhm.
Could you find out whether there, I know there's certainly some things out of the plan. So my question is, if our neighborhood plan is zero in the plan,
It is.
which to me, that would mean that there is an even better position having the neighborhood plan in there and our overlay district in there. Well, we don't want the neighborhood plan to be stripped out. We know it's.
No, it will not. The neighborhood plan is a city plan. It will not be stripped out by the comp plan. Absolutely not. In fact, if anything, you're just going to get some more density from it. So no, it will absolutely not supersede your overlay, because yeah, your neighborhood plan should be fine. But the people that would know even more about it than I would are sitting right behind you, Stephanie Pointer and Carol Ann Bennett. They are the leaders of THAN, which is, if you don't know, it's the umbrella organization of all the neighborhoods. They have been very studious paying attention to that comp plan. So if you have comp plan questions, they are my experts for the night. The last thing I have question wise on my list is storm debris removal time. And that, I'm sorry to tell you, is 90 days. Like there's not really a rhyme or reason. There is a map. It's slightly helpful. It's a GIS map from probably the late 80s, early 90s. We're really trying, we're updating our software, but it basically goes by sort of your sweep quadrants, like the little quadrants they do for sweep. And it's green if you've been collected, yellow if you're next, and then gray. Most of the city is gray. So it's kind of, no, it's so it doesn't really give you an update as to when. Yes.
The question that the neighbor has is they cannot get all of the nature of the curve now, so they need a one route out, and they need to backfill that again.
Yep.
Once FEMA dollars are done after 90 days, you understand, will the city be doing another sweep again?
Well, the goal is to get 2 sweeps in 90 days.
Oh, okay.
So I will tell you that right now we have crews working 24 hours, 6 days a week for our city crews. And then we have hired, I want to say 100 more, and they work 24/7, 7 days a week. So, I mean, they are out doing the work. Believe me, they are. But the problem is not so much here, some here, but really down there. I mean, a block, everyone's like their entire life on the curb takes up one truck. So they're digging it up, and then so that's just taking longer because, and that is the larger health hazard, the stuff that's coming. So they're kind of prioritizing health hazard. We're talking about rats and stuff. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of rat calls. That's been new.
So there will be 2
From my understanding, there will be two. So in our area of Seminole Heights, we got one already, which was weird because we didn't have a lot of debris at the time. But it's going to come back again because now we have a lot more debris. People were able to get the trees out of their backyards. So, yes. Oh, behind you and then you.
So I have a little comment or question. I just commend the city and the county. I was at Hillsborough Heights at 2 a.m. They're running 24/7. They do have the capacity to haul.
Yep.
And they're doing the same thing on Limeball
Yep.
as well. So,
Yeah.
and I probably shouldn't say this. I don't think there are many requirements. They're mostly waived. If you come in free, they just pass you right through.
Yeah.
So you get off of it.
Well, and it's very important that we get that debris because believe it or not, we weigh it and we get paid by FEMA based on that debris. So FEMA will pay for our debris. They will pay for us to get rid of it. That's part of what FEMA does. It's very unfortunate because it's horrific for the environment, but at some point, I mean, that's actually why we're asking you to keep your yard waste separate. So if you have the trees that they will be able to compost. They actually have a whole new area that they're really working on that. That's Larry Washington, one of his new areas of focus. So that is why they're really asking you to keep that separate. So if you see a neighbor who's like added a mattress to that, just ask them, hey, would you mind putting that mattress to the side so that they can grab the tree limbs separately? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. One more for you and then you. Yeah.
Wondering if there's any way they could compost or make the stuff into mulch.
Yeah.
On the street. And then allow that mulch to just be available.
Well, there's actually a great company that does that. It's called Chip Drop, CHIPDROP. And it is how I get all the mulch for my garden. And right now, all my neighbors know me because I'm the lady with the giant mulch pile at all times. But that actually allows you to get mulch for free. And you just have to ask for it. No, the city doesn't have the capability because we're talking serious amounts. But
If there could be a request to volunteers, volunteer corporations and things like that to help with the storm removal, which I mean, certainly would get their name.
well, actually, that is a good thing. We actually do have volunteer opportunities this Saturday. If you go to the city's Facebook page or the city website, they do have some volunteer opportunities where they're going into people's homes, yards, really helping those who cannot help themselves. Yes. Yeah. And they are more than welcome to join in, for sure. That I do not know. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great idea. Okay. Yeah, that is a great idea. I will mention that to Janelle. Yes.
The assumption is that with all the uncovered foliage, put it in front of your house, on the right of way, on the curb, right?
Mhm.
But when you have the situation, you get far too much, do you have to get permission from a neighbor to put it in front of their house?
It would be nice if you asked a neighbor if you could use their right of way. Only because some people are really weird about the right of way and they believe it belongs to them. And you don't want to make an enemy of that neighbor. Oh, well, then by all means, go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Yes. And that's fine. No one is saying, I'm only picking up this from. So anywhere you can find in a right of way to put debris. Okay. Sure. No, and I completely understand. I will tell you the right of way is the place to put it. And please tell your friends and neighbors, we are having problems in some neighborhoods where they want to put it in the street. And the problem with the street, and it's not a big a problem in our neighborhoods because we don't have as many curbs and actual gutters. But the problem is if you put that in the gutter, we get another storm, talk about filling the storm drains. That is absolutely the last thing we need. So please encourage everyone you know to keep it off the street and on a right of way, because the city owns that right of way and they are happy to have it there. Other than that, yes. One more time. So, yes, so this is a question about Grain Cathedral. So I did indeed, you may be the person who emailed me after I made the motion at council. Last I heard about Grain Cathedral is that they have passed quite a few of their inspections and they are still in the process of working. They are working on it. And correct. Not the zoning issues yet. That's probably something I should not opine on because that may in fact have to come in front of us. But what is being done right now, so I got a report from the fire marshal that said that they are now in compliance for fire marshal in terms of things like fire alarms, fire doors, but I don't know if that means fire suppression. I am not, all I know is that I have been told that they are moving in that direction. My goal is overall in the city to make sure that folks who have non-compliant businesses, that we do not encourage a ask forgiveness. So that has been my overarching focus. Yes. And so what again, my focus has been on, let's see what we can do to encourage people. I have a similar issue with a residential property near me, and it is just wild. It's kind of amazing that we allow things to stay open, but that is where I'll stop. Yes. Okay.
People that one of us, many of us, in TPO, advocating for trees instead of those big walls. Roads park, actually. And then you know about the heat islands and international flows where that's being learned, always being learned about that. We're convinced that as DOT keep on building more roads and the roads are higher, what happened in Locals Park is going to happen again. And they have told us that they're putting in all of these walls now, and they will not get trees for until 1 or 2 years. And storms keep coming through.
Okay.
So as we talk about getting their attention, and glad about the connection with the national. Please let us know what we could do to pursue new roads so that we could connect with all of that. Those Park has got to be impacted when all of those roads keep on continuing to build. And like I said, I do not know how low Robles Park is, but for this first time, there are 50 years that it's flooding. So
Yes.
I appreciate it very much.
Yes, the trees and Robles Park and FDOT, absolutely. It is while they may have talked about it before, it's 100% time. I'm glad you mentioned that. So I will bring that up at the TPO meeting as well as part of old business to see what we can do to look at it again because of the flooding that occurred. So hopefully we can talk to Justin Hall and get a little bit more information on that. Anybody else with any questions? Yes.
Yes. First, you brought up the Tampa corridor and the FDOT work there. Just on your radar, whatever really you have pressure on them to do that project right. That function they gave you that was part of their penance for what they've done to the neighborhood with the interstate. And a year or two ago, it was going to be dedicated bus lanes, protected bike lanes, expanded sidewalks, it's going to be the stormwater issue, and it was also going to be trying to put pressure on Seco to underground facilities there.
Mhm.
One by one, all those projects have started getting stripped away of the project, and we don't even know what's on this. But all of those positive things that were supposed to come out of it were slowly stripped away, and all of those were dangling in front of the state of it as they were trying to push through this downtown machine.
So I believe it's probably time to have another meeting with FDOT about that. I'm happy to try to start that conversation with Justin Hall because I do believe, and I told him when it comes to the stormwater, even if the city has to pay for it, which I don't think we should have to, but I'm willing to at this point because if we're ripping up the roads once, we're going to do it right. So I 100% am on board with the need for stormwater in that area, but I do believe the FDOT should pay for it and pay for the things that they have said that they're going to do. So I'm happy to try to create that conversation, to have it again, to kind of talk to Justin Hall and see what happened and see if we can get beyond it's too expensive.
And the second is that it's the touch and radar is not just the new comp plan, but also the new land development code process the city's going through. Dealing with a lot of things, so I'm extremely worried about that, more than I'm worried about.
Okay.
Because it goes to the planning commission, I think, there's decent folks over there, that's looking at it much, maybe I'm off base on that, slight praise, but I've been, at least been a little bit more supportive of the land development code. Frankly, I'm extremely concerned and actually feeling the departments.
So this is, yeah.
And so I talked to Evan about it, and Johnson, and he provided me a little bit of good information to the ability that he is able to. But you know, I do not think for this line you use on number two. It's not just about density, it's about the goodness. Is it built right? Is it smart? Is it walkability, pedestrian, environmental impact in mind? And that is all still left in the wind. And so I don't think that they have major plans to do community outreach neighborhood by neighborhood with that. I think from what I've heard, I anticipate it's going to be very limited. I feel like we're going to have to fall away from the attention on that. It's a very specific Tampa Heights attention to what it's.
So the good news with the land development code is that there is a community, are they calling it an advocacy group? Advisory committee? Stephanie and Carol, no, just Carol Ann is on it. And you're on it with who else? Debbie Zommerman. Believe me, if you want anyone on your side, it's Debbie Zommerman. She's at Davis Islands. She also basically does land use for all of Broward County. So she's, and she is truly an expert. So if you haven't met Debbie, you should get with Carol Ann, meet Debbie, because they are doing some, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but you know, it gives me peace and calm to some degree. One of the consultants who's on this project is Josh Frank. And I trust him, and I know that he's just a consultant and consultants don't necessarily have full reign, but I do believe that we can get some good things in there. There are definitely some stopgap areas where it will be presented. We will get a copy of it. We will be looking at it. We will be sharing it. We will be getting feedback. Council is going to have to approve it. So I will highly, believe me, I will give you my feedback. I will take your feedback, and it will be a fight. I think that's probably the most important thing that is in my term. My goal is to be able to pass it before I leave office. I mean, before this term is over.
So the is basically going to be absolutely positively 100% against that. But throw my vote. Because we hired these people to get their professional, objective opinion. I don't know what they think. I don't want it filtered. I don't want it censored. I want to know what they think. I have my own mind. You know, from the state of everybody in this room and sit down, they're real. They can look at what comes out of that. They can decide for themselves whether they agree with it or disagree with it. We don't need someone censoring the information from us. Then why didn't we just have, why didn't we take $1 million and do it internally?
Yeah.
Why are we bothering to do it externally? I am so against that.
And I will say that I'm not the only council member and member of the public who's against that. So we will be focusing, I think we still have, we've got a few months until anything, probably a year before we actually get any documentation, but we are getting monthly updates from Abby about where they are in the process. So as we get closer, I can absolutely make sure I have a meeting with Tampa Heights again to talk about it, because I know that you all are very specifically interested in good urbanism. Is basically the best way to say that. And I have one more thing that I did write at the very top of my paper and then I forgot until I was reminded. It is very important. Election season is upon us. If you want stormwater, you got to vote for the CIT. Like it's critical. And I know I would not have chosen to fund the stadium, but because we're not St. Pete. But the problem is that we owe them a certain amount of money every year, and if it doesn't come out of CIT, it's coming out of our general budget. So we're stuck. It's a contract. We can't do anything about a contract. If that is your opposition to the CIT, I join you in that opposition, but we have no choice. Like that ship has sailed. This ship is about fire stations, and I spend a lot of time in fire stations, and the place, what those folks are dealing with is inhumane. The mold is just outrageous, and the living conditions. It is about transportation. It's about stormwater and roads, and ideally also about mobility. We did not get the all for transportation, but this tax will allow us as a community to figure out how we want to focus some of that money. And in my mind, I would like to focus it on mass transit and the expansion of a bus system so that we can get a rail system. Yeah, one question, or yeah. It is different in every neighborhood. The THCA undergrounding. It's been the same in Old Seminole Heights too. So I don't know if they're just going around seeing what neighborhoods are most in favor of it and starting there. But you would have to ask THCA about that. We do not have anything to do with THCA. But I can. You would think so, but the problem with undergrounding lines is that you are impacting trees. So you're impacting trees one way or the other. The lines above impact trees with the branches, the lines below impact roots and destroy trees. So there's still a little bit of argument there. Carol Ann.
This CIT is not even being this for 3 years. You will not notice change in the already.
Not only are you paying it, everybody who visits Tampa is paying it. So all those people who live in Wesley Chapel and come here and gas up their cars, they're paying it. So, and buying lunch, they're paying it. Stopping at CVS, they're paying it. So yeah, 30% of the CIT comes from people who don't live here. Yeah. So please, 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 I know Tampa Heights is already generally in favor of these types of things, but I just wanted to encourage you to get your neighbors to make sure they vote for it. That's the only soapbox voting thing I'll do, other than to say, please make sure you vote. Early voting is the way to go this year. Just even if you're one of those diehards, I'm really encouraging you to vote early. I just don't know what election day is going to look like.
It stops the global calls, and it stops the text messages.
Yes.
You're gonna do it, the least text messages you get.
Yep. And the mailers, they will stop mailing you things Believe me, I learned that one the hard way, or from my experience. But I want to say thank you all so much for your really good questions. Tampa Heights is always a favorite because like it's like being at home. It's like Seminole Heights. So I want to say thank you. If anybody wants a card, I have some extras and I will pass them out.
All right, that was worth every penny of admission. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lynn. And on the voting issue, I'll double down on that. Uh, as far as I'm concerned, the best place for us to go, we live here, go to Saunders Library on Nebraska. I'm working the polls. I'm there every other day. Come on in, say hey. We've got no line. I mean, there are like 150 people that come through there in 12 hours. It's been slow. You can get in and you can get out in about 10 minutes. Parking's easy, and you can get there in 5 minutes from where we're standing right now. So come on by, visit. I'll be there tomorrow. Try to get it done. Any questions or comments for the good of the order? Nope. Okay, it's 8:30. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.